Hello, welcome to another episode of This, That, and the Other. I'm going to talk about another ill-fated WFL football team that existed in the first season of the league's existence. It only lasted about a year and a half because the other season wasn't finished. And this team was called the Detroit Wheels. They were from the 1974 season. Detroit Wheels and Jacksonville Sharks did not finish the season. They were both went belly up, and the league took control and folded them. So, little information on the Detroit Wheels. If I can get you an image of what this looks like. Yeah, right here. This is their logo. This is their helmet. It was a gold helmet, and D with a W on it. The Detroit Wheels. And a little history on them. The commissioner Gary Davidson was approached by a man by Bud Hackle. I don't know how you pronounce Hackle, but he had quite a few legal problems, and he did not end up becoming the owner. They were awarded a franchise on December 13th, 1973, and were owned by 33 people. Marvin Gaye was an investor, along with Motown VP Esther Edwards, Milford Fabrication owner Edward Nishon, and Little Caesars founder Michael Ilitch. The president was a Detroit attorney, Louis Leaves. He was a young man. I think he was like 28 years old. He was the owner of the Detroit Wheels franchise. The GM was Sonny Gradelius, and they hired Dan Boyster, the coach of Eastern Michigan. They had trouble finding a place to play. They first chose Detroit or Tiger Stadium, home of the Lions and Major League Baseball Detroit Tigers. However, unable to get loose due to pressure from the Lions. Also, much of the season coincided with baseball. Silverdome wasn't built. University of Detroit Stadium, home of the Continental Football League's Michigan Arrows, had been demolished 3 years prior. Lee approached his alma mater, University of Michigan, about playing at Cavernous Michigan Stadium, but also turned down. Finally, the Wheels had to settle for Eastern Michigan's Rynearson Stadium in Ypsilanti, Michigan, 7 miles from downtown Detroit. The stadium had no lighting at the time. The Wheels had to install their own lights. The lights remain in the stadium to this day. The club even hired Eastern Michigan's head coach Dan Boyster to helm the Wheels. Team was not a winner. They acquired the quarterback Bubba Weiss he had been the quarterback of Tennessee, and he had quarterbacked in the NFL. He was brother to the ex-quarterback /head coach, NFL head coach Sam Weiss. I believe Sam Weiss was a backup quarterback on the Redskins. I remember he coached the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They drafted 33 players, but they were only able to sign 3 out of the 33. As losses piled up, the team's ramshackle financial structure was even more problematic. Boyster and Gradelius badly wanted to pull together a serious football organization, but the owners refused all the requests for more money. According to Gradelius, the owners panicked when they realized how dire the situation was and simply walked away, making the Wheels essentially a club team in a professional league. For one home game, there were no programs available because the printer hadn't been paid. Several practices were canceled because a laundry bill went unpaid, leaving the team without uniforms. They couldn't pay their phone bill, and they were unable to reserve hotel rooms or fly to away games without advance payment. Players were forced to share food and rent due to missed paydays. Several players ended up sharing a house. Wide receiver John Henderson had to pay his son's hospital bill out of his pocket after finding out the team's insurance policy was practically worthless. The situation prompted Weiss to write to league president Gary Davidson and begged the league office to intervene. They drafted 3 players that ended up becoming NFL stars: Ed Too Tall Jones, Rick Middleton, and Randy Grossman. But unfortunately, the Wheels initially refused to spend more than $10,000 per player, so guys ended up signing up in the NFL. The coaches were also feeling the effects as well. At least one assistant coach was forced to live in the basement of another coach, and several landlords refused to rent houses to him when they found out he worked for the Wheels. Boyster was unable to film games because the owners refused to provide filming equipment. The low point came in the Wheels' 8th game against the Philadelphia Bell. When the players arrived at JFK Stadium, they discovered that there were no medical supplies or tape available. The Wheels refused to take the field until a Johnson & Johnson salesman donated tape so that the game could go on. Philadelphia won 27-23. After losing their first 10 games, they got their only win, 15-14 over the Florida Blazers at Orlando. Soon afterwards, the league took control of the team and began searching for a new home. First choice was Shreveport, but the Houston Texans moved there instead became the Steamer. So the Houston Texans of the different Houston Texans moved from that WFL team moved from Houston to Shreveport. They tried Louisville, but Tufts collapsed. Automaker John DeLorean tried to buy the team in hopes of keeping it in Detroit, but backed out at the last minute. Next choice was Charlotte, where former New England Patriots general manager Upton Bell was hoping to put together financing for a WFL team. Although impressed with Weiss, he was unable to come to an agreement. Instead, opted to buy the New York Stars and move them to Charlotte as the Hornets. September 24th, the Wheels filed for bankruptcy, then faced the Stars in Downing Stadium, losing 37-7 in what proved to be the Stars' last game in New York. A week later, they dropped a 14-11 decision to Shreveport, coincidentally one of the cities the Wheels had considered moving to. This would turn out to be the last game the Wheels would ever play. October 7th, in the face of $1.4 million in claims, Davidson postponed the Wheels' upcoming game against Chicago Fire and announced the league would fold the team unless new owners could be found within 3 days. No buyers surfaced, and the Wheels were folded along with the equally cash-strapped Jacksonville Sharks. While the franchise officially folded October 10th, players and coaches have been taking their uniforms and personal items home with them for some time to keep them from being seized. The Wheels franchise was the only one not reissued when World Football returned in 1975. Wheels finished their abbreviated system with the WFL's worst record of 1-13. However, considering their dire off-the-field situation, they were far more competitive than the record indicated. 8 of their 10 losses were by less than 1 touchdown, and they held fourth-quarter leads in 7 games, playing in a tough Central Division with the league's best teams. Memphis 17-3 and Birmingham 15-5 made things even more difficult for the hapless Wheels. And Birmingham Americans ended up winning the championship that year. They beat the Florida Blazers. I think it was like 22-21. They were ahead 22-0, and then Florida came back, but came up short a point. And over the games that they played at Memphis, lost 34-15. Hosted Florida, lost 18-14. At Hawaii, 36-16. Hosted Birmingham Americans, lost to them 21-18. And then at Birmingham, lost 28-22. Lost to Memphis Southmen, 37-7. Lost to Chicago Fire, 35-23. At Philadelphia, they lost 27-23. Lost to Portland Storm at London, Ontario, 18-7. Lost at home to California Sun, 10-7. Won at Florida, 15-14. Lost at Southern California, 29-24. Lost to New York Stars, 37-7. And at Shreveport Steamer, 14-11. They had games scheduled. They had 6 more games. They were going to play at Chicago, and then they were going to host the Hawaiians, and then play at Shreveport and at Jacksonville, which is also folded, and then host the Hornets and the Philadelphia Bell. But those games never happened. And that's why I was able to find out on the history of that league. And I mean, the owners didn't stick with the team very long. They realized how dire their situation was, and they pulled out. And when the team was being formed, they were looking for doctors, lawyers, celebrities, rich widows, anybody with money to invest. And they were owned by 33 people, but they pulled out of there. And I read that all the owners were issued gold blazers. I read about that somewhere, and that's what I was able to find out on the Detroit Wheels. And I'll look up some information on Jacksonville Sharks. That's another interesting story of a team that folded that year. And with it being football season, I am discussing some football subjects. I will not completely focus on football. I want for those of you that don't like football. And as always, like, subscribe, share. As always, thanks for watching.